So I think it's fair to say that if you're into the medium of video games, then you, my friend, love a good boss battle, something that pushes you to your limit and sometimes a little bit beyond there and offers up refreshing and new experiences as a little bit of a break from the regular gameplay. But equally, as much as we can love them, we can sometimes absolutely hate bosses that are utterly cheap, unfair, and played downright dirty. Well, you know what? We're going to flip the tables on them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game bosses that made you cheat to win. Number 10. The computer-controlled players. Mario Party 1. Now, in theory, the CPU players in a game of Mario Party should operate as totally individual figures. They're intended to emulate human players after all, so you'd obviously expect them to mostly just look out for themselves, like a competitive game would entail. Only if you play this game for long enough, you start to see that things are a little bit more suspicious. The AI players always seem to win certain mini-games, but maybe that's just my paranoia, right? I mean, they clearly wouldn't make the AI unbeatable at mini-games when they're 90% of the game, right? Wrong, my friend, because these robots are made to be better than you. And yes, it is okay to be mad at that fact. In the first game especially, the AI is literally capable of pushing buttons faster than your controller can physically register them. This is especially true for the god-awful mini-games that require you to rotate the joystick with your palm, since you could literally tear the skin off your hand if you did it too fast. Whereas the computer, well, it's got no hands and thus no issues. As such, nobody can blame you for almost definitely forming a sketchy and also sort of unfair alliance with other human players against the robotic threat. Sacrifices have to be made, after all. Number 9. Every opponent. GODZILLA Destroy All Monsters Melee. When the AI does things that qualify as cheating, it's not exactly immoral to exploit this to your own benefit, right? Even if it does only create an unfair playing field that is instead in your favor. And this is exactly the case for a game known as GODZILLA Destroy All Monsters Melee. In it, the AI suffers from a rather bad case of omnipotence, as it's able to know where items are without being within viewing range of them and automatically runs to collect them. While this is absolutely bogus, it is easy to use against it. By running in the opposite direction to your foe, you can get it stuck on the edge of the screen and thus it's unable to get the precious item. And since it keeps running to pick up said item, you can use this time to just wail on it, throwing whatever it is nearby to mess up its day. Throwing a building at a stuck opponent isn't exactly an incredibly moral fighting tactic, but you know what? The AI started this war of cheating, you're just ending it. Number 8. Cheating the Cheater. Digimon Digital Card Battle. Now, Digimon Digital Card Battle actually introduces a cheating AI by having your arch enemy literally hack the game in order to get some OP cards every time. However, hilariously, you can actually play this in your favor. Now, Analog Man can cheat by hacking to get specific cards, but you can also cheat by using the hacking card to swap his buffed Digimon's health with that of your own monsters, so long as they're a lower level. Now, this isn't exactly a trouble either, as his monsters are usually so powerful that you likely won't ever have to worry about yours being of a higher level. Now, admittedly, this isn't exactly the same type of cheating as you'll find in other games on this list, as the hacking card is totally legitimate and not obtained by skullduggery, and Analog Man's whole shtick is that he's hacked his way in to fight you in the first place. But it is fun to see that cheating against an also cheating CPU boss is such a well-established trope that games like this almost parody it in a strange meta sort of way. Were this game to have the same kind of rep that the Pokemon card game did, this battle would likely be infamous. As it is, it's still entertaining to feel like you're caught in something of a hacking battle against a really dangerous rogue. Number 7. The MK Walkers. Mortal Kombat 3. It goes without saying that the highest difficulty level in a fighting game is pretty much always going to be the most devilishly tricky one. This is especially true for the Mortal Kombat series, which coined the term MK Walkers to describe the crazy challenging top difficulty the series' CPU possessed. In order to make battles more troublesome, the AI's reaction time is simply improved by incredible amounts, meaning that they can do basically perfect blocks and attacks all the time, since the speed that they can realize what to do is almost infinitely faster than you are. So, how did players combat the cruelty of combat? Well, in most games you'd need to learn to outsmart and outmaneuver your enemy, except that is for Mortal Kombat 3. In the third installment, your enemy had an indecipherable weakness: uppercuts. Thus, you can either painstakingly develop tactics by being brutalized by various robots, or instead just uppercut them into oblivion. Now, it's a tactic that would be slated if you used it against a human player, but it feels a little bit less cruel to use against a ruthless robo opponent. Number 6. Car Troubles. Simpsons Hit and Run. Since a whole lot of people played Simpsons Hit and Run when they were young or otherwise getting into games, it might seem like this was where the difficulty of the game arose. As anyone who's recently played it again can tell you, this is not the case. There are just certain portions of this game that are really, really hard. This is doubly true for the races that you can do in each and every level to get yourself a new car. These are basically designed to be a huge trouble for you to beat as you race against the car that you would unlock in the next level, which is often infinitely superior to the one you currently have. Now, it's at this point where many guides would recommend that you wait until you're a level or two past this mission before you actually play it, otherwise it can often be a lesson in humility. But we're not ones to wait around, so of course some tactics that weren't exactly kosher in any other driving game suddenly became almost a necessary evil if you wanted to beat these races when you first got to them. Getting other cars stuck on environments, taking shortcuts that weren't actually meant to be shortcuts, anything is game when you've been demolished in a race against Marge Simpson for the umpteenth time. Eggs for Bart indeed. Number 5. Dante, Devil May Cry 4. Now, many games have uber-hard, extra difficult modes that brave players will battle their way through, and Devil May Cry 4 has perhaps one of the hardest of these outside games that actively market themselves on being difficult, that is. And there's a reason that their most difficult mode is called Dante Must Die, and that's because Dante will provide you one of your most challenging fights. And that's because regular attacks just don't seem to ever get through to this guy. You can deflect, dodge, and parry, but being able to actually hit him without being blocked is seemingly impossible. And while players have beat Dante on this difficulty without using more sketchy methods, there is a popular way to cheese this boss. Should you grow tired of suffering, you can merely just parkour your way onto the altar in this room. Dante, in all of his infinite wisdom, will attempt to jump up, only for you to get an opening attack to him, swatting him back down. Then just rinse and repeat this until his untimely demise, leaving you either relieved to finally get through this fight, or a little ashamed of how you did it. Number 4. The RHYNOC Race, SPYRO Year of the Dragon. Now, the race for the Dragon Egg in SPYRO Year of the Dragon isn't impossible by a long shot. However, it can be really dang annoying as your enemies are able to use their speed boost whenever they want and automatically know their way around the course, whereas you have to build up your boost via tricks. And since this isn't the most integral part of the game, it's pretty reasonable to just want to get past it as quick as possible and to get back to the fun levels and boss fights. So instead of repeating the race after you lose it, you can take a slightly different tactic. If you instead walk to one of the boost panels and just stand on it for a couple of minutes, you can stack up the boost that you'd otherwise have to work to get. As such, you can literally then go into the race and just constantly boost your way around the entire thing, making it so that your enemies have zero chance of ever catching up with you, let alone passing you. Number 3. Most late game opponents, Yu-Gi-Oh! Reshef of Destruction. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Reshef of Destruction, you face dragons, demons, and ancient Egyptian deities. You also face some downright cheating bastards, because nothing apparently is ever easy, and some people care a little bit too much about a card game. I say this as I look over at my Magic the Gathering collection right now. However, presumably you also care about winning your card games, because when you realize that the later enemies that you face will know what card you've put down even when they're face down, you're likely going to be a bit more than peeved. But you can game the system by just creating a deck custom built to sabotage the fact that the enemy can see the stars and stats of your monsters. By using cards that appear weak but have abilities that automatically kill whatever enemy attacks it, you can strategically take out your enemy's side of the board, since they aren't able to read abilities quite the same as they are stars and stats. Again, it's not entirely immoral, as the minute you realize that your enemy can basically read your cards, it's a natural reaction, but it does change the dynamic of these fights from desperately holding your own against powerful enemies to, well, just gaming the system. Number 2. Level 9 CPU, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Showing someone a high-level CPU playing Super Smash Bros. Is basically a simple way of showing how easy it would be for them to eventually take over the world. Trying to duke it out with the AI is an experiment in suffering. It can dodge all of your attacks perfectly, counter-attack you ruthlessly, and just generally use the perfect reaction to whatever you try to throw at it quicker than the blink of an eye. Basically, they're frustrating enough to combat that many players choose to take them down via less legitimate means, which isn't actually difficult to do, because these opponents are pretty easy to mess with once you have an idea of how they work. Almost every character in Melee has an underhanded way that you can deal with them, not even counting the regular sketchy methods like flying under the level until characters jump to their deaths trying to catch you. Though learning all of these mechanics almost legitimizes using them, you're still learning how to cheat instead of learning how to fight, but there's only so many times that you can be curb stomped by Donkey Kong before you need to do whatever you can to win. And number 1, 1, Dark Link, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Now, the early Legend of Zelda games are a great ancestor of most of the difficult games that we have to this day. And this is exemplified in Dark Link, one of the most genuinely challenging boss fights in the franchise's history. He automatically attacks whatever you aren't guarding against, perfectly counters all of your attacks, and generally makes your life hell in that special way that only flawless AI reactions can. However, like most hard-as-nail bosses, players found a way to make this fight easy as hell with a cheesy exploit. As it turns out, if you go to the far left and duck, your evil doppelganger will just walk over to you without guarding, meaning that you can just hack away at his shins without ever having to worry about him blocking or launching a counterattack. Curling up in a ball and jabbing somebody doesn't exactly make for the most epic of battles, but your dignity has likely already taken a lot of hits by this point in the game. So you know what, we're gonna give this one a pass. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 video game bosses that made you cheat to win. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're treating yourself well, with love and respect, not trying to cheat yourself out of that bit of self-care, because it's very important to do that in our day-to-day. Just taking some time out and realizing that we are a massive ledge and we deserve the best things in life, all right? And trust me, you do. Now go out there and absolutely smash it today, my friend. I believe in ya. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.